first video is going to be focused on the fundamental principles. These are what the official takes into factor when they make their decisions on the court. This is part of the decision-making process. When we look at the different fouls and violations in the other videos, that is the basic understanding of the rules. However, it doesn't mean they will be enforced or called. That doesn't mean they aren't violations or aren't fouls. It just means that there's principles they're going to use, and it's going to differ from official to official on what they think is right for the game. And when we look in depth in these 4 points that create the fundamental principles, you'll see why there's that difference and why some officials call it one way or don't call certain foul calls or violations. It's all about the bigger picture. So when we look at this statement, it talks about deciding on personal contact or violation, weighing upon the following fundamental principles. So the key words there are deciding personal contact or violation and the fundamental principles that these officials take into factor. So the next thing we're going to look at is the 4 points of the fundamental principles. The first point talks about upholding the integrity of the game and understanding the spirit and intent of the rules. Basically just stating that the rules that are listed and the interpretations that are shown, there might be scenarios that are similar but not exactly the same as how it's outlined. And the official must use their best judgment of what to do in that situation. So an example would be, maybe about 5 years ago there's a video of an individual running out the back door, then coming up a different set of doors in the gymnasium and catching a basket and scoring the hoop. So he basically ran outside the boundaries, went through his gym doors, came up on the other side. No other players understood this. So at that time there wasn't an exact rule on it. However, the official could rule a technical foul because you're deceiving the opponents, you're leaving the playing area, you're doing something that is not upholding the spirit of the game and the integrity of the game. So the official can use their best judgment to determine what should be the consequence or the outcome of a certain rule. The next one is advantage disadvantage. This one gets talked about a lot. This is the one that gets referred to the most, and it's that the official shouldn't interrupt the flow of the game to unnecessarily penalize incidental personal contact that doesn't give the player responsible an advantage nor place his opponent at a disadvantage. So they just talk about advantage disadvantage, and we'll have a couple examples following the rule explanation at the end of the video. But just a quick visual example that I could give is a player is bringing up the ball with no pressure. So they're in their backcourt, they're bringing up the ball, and their hands coming underneath the ball. And so you might go, hey, that should be a carry ball. However, no one's guarding him. He's bringing up the ball. There's no pressure. Calling that is just not needed. You're interrupting the flow of the game or stopping the game for something that's not necessary. However, we take that exact same play and that exact same player, we move them to the front court, and that carry ball freezes the defender and allows the offense to blow by the defensive player. So now this carry ball has provided an advantage to the person on offense, and it placed a defender at a disadvantage. So this is a violation example. A contact example would be if I'm going to make a pass to my post. That pass gets to him, he scores the layup, we get a point. However, while I'm making the pass, my arm gets slapped. However, the pass goes straight to my post. So instead of calling a foul to put the ball on the side for minor contact, we let it go, ball goes to the post, they score the layup. However, if I slap the offensive player's hand and the ball gets turned over or goes out of bounds, pretty much off the passing line that I was making, is up to the official to make that call because the defense has gained advantage. They stop where the offense wants to throw the ball. There is some judgment into play, common sense like it talks about in the next point, but basically we don't seek to interrupt the game flow on some minimal contact. Now if I elbow someone in the shoulder while they're making the pass or do something that is more than minimal contact, then we need to penalize that because we don't want to see that happen constantly in the game. It's more so for incidental personal contact. The application of common sense can be a variety of things. It could be seeing the player's attitude on the court and knowing when to give a tech, when to talk to them, or when to just tell them, what are you doing, you know? Or it could be something to do with a player's ability, whether they are able to attack the rim hard but they like to exaggerate the contact, and just using common sense of when there's a foul and the contact's being exaggerated, or just knowing personnel. So when it talks about abilities, just knowing what the players like and applying that common sense of knowing what they're trying to do and if something's stopping them from doing that. And the last point is just about balance, game control, game flow, and having a feeling. A lot of basketball players that become referees have that feeling from years of experience of being reffed by other referees and knowing what they look for and what they call. And it's basically a combination of the previous points. So having that game flow of not penalizing incidental contact, but if that contact continues and continues, you're going to have to penalize it to have game control. Because as much as there's incidental contact that occurs in the game, you don't want an annoyance or disruptor, someone that constantly just keeps doing it and trying to take advantage of it. So just having a feel of when to call the foul, when to let it go, when to call a violation, when to let it go, and determining who's creating that contact. Just having that balance of controlling the game, but also allowing players to play.